What's up, guys? Tyler here with Secure Team. Welcome back. Now, if you've been with me for a while, you know that there's one place I always come back to when it comes to UFOs and hidden anomalies, and that's the moon. Not just any part of the moon, but the archives, the so-called official photos from NASA's Apollo missions. Because buried in these publicly released images are secrets, and today we are pulling back the curtain on one of the most mind-bending ones yet. Now, before we dive into today's discovery, I want to quickly touch on something that most of you have probably seen before. It's one of the most famous Apollo-era lunar anomaly photographs ever documented, which is the triangle formation of three blue lights in the image snapped during the Apollo 17 mission, which can be found under the label AS17-147-22470. Now, this isn't today's main focus, but it sets the stage for what I've recently uncovered. So, keep this image and this familiar sight in mind as we move forward. But if you haven't seen it or you're not familiar with the image, here it is in its raw, highest resolution form that can be found publicly, that is. And what this image shows is a standard lunar landscape, craters, gray soil, some distant hills. The astronauts were walking around snapping photos as they do on every moon mission, but if you look closely up in the sky near the upper right of the image or photograph, there are three glowing blue lights arranged in a precise triangular formation. Like many others, these images are manipulated before being made public by NASA, with a huge amount of these photographs having either their brightness increased to wash out all manner of detail, or their brightness lowered to where you almost have a completely dark image, as was the case in this Apollo 17 pic. But with some basic brightness and contrast enhancement, this ominous and mysterious blue formation of lights come into perfect view, displaying perfect geometry, perfect spacing, just floating there above the lunar hills. And what was NASA's take on this photograph? Well, nothing. They've been totally silent. No clarification, no press release, no mention of it in any transcripts, and let's be honest, if this were a lens flare or an artifact from the camera, they would have said so, right? But instead, crickets, and the silence speaks volumes. Now here is where things start to heat up, keeping that first image in mind. So while I was doing some digging, siphoning through photo after photo from the various missions, going hunting for anomalous structures down on the lunar surface or things hovering up above it, I came across another lunar mission, which was the Apollo 12 mission and the photos taken during it. And in this mission's image archive, we find photo number AS12-46-6848. Now, at first glance, it's nothing special until you zoom in, where near the center of the image, I have seemingly discovered, yet again, a triangular pattern of glowing lights, this time with a reddish-orange hue. Now, these lights look to be a bit smaller, a little bit more subtle, but clearly there when compared to the Apollo 17 photograph, and unmistakably are arranged in the same triangular shape. And I'll show you some different filtered versions here where I tried my best to bring this UFO orb formation out the best I could. But think about this. 2 different missions, years apart, different cameras used, and yet somehow the same pattern appears again in the lunar sky. And are we really supposed to believe this is all a coincidence? So let's talk about the details of these photographs. In the Apollo 17 image, which was the last moon mission publicly that we know of, the lights appear larger and more defined. They are blue in color and almost hazy, as if they're surrounded by plasma. Then in the Apollo 12's image, the lights are smaller, more of a fiery orange-reddish color, and appear to hover with the same spacing and alignment. And it's like someone or something is watching, stationed, tracking, or maybe even guarding something. Again, years apart, different cameras, and yet here we are. And again, the lack of a reaction from NASA is telling. We know that NASA and their image techs have airbrushed images, cut live feeds, and archived thousands of photographs without ever reviewing them publicly. And they even erased all of the original Apollo moon landing film footage under the guise of a simple accident. And again, we're talking about the most important footage ever captured, known to mankind. But the truth is, when it comes to the footage and the photos that we do have and that are available to the public, well, one thing is for sure, they couldn't cover up or airbrush out every single UFO, and some things slipped through the cracks. And in my opinion, what we are looking at right now is one of those things. And if that wasn't enough, the very next image in the Apollo 12 series, as I was scanning through and had just discovered this one, we go to photo AS12-46-6849, which offers something even stranger. Captured just seconds later from the same vantage point, snapped by the astronaut, we see the same lunar terrain. However, up on the horizon, hovering above the blackness of space, is this odd, elongated object, white, smooth, and shaped like a bowling pin, which is really the only thing I could relate it to. So we will call it the bowling pin UFO. So whether we zoom in, enhance it, shift the contrast, whatever we do to this photo, this UFO stays consistent. It's not a rock, it's not dust, and it's not a camera glitch. And remember, these were old-style photographic film cameras, not digital. And whatever this bowling pin-shaped UFO is, remains completely unexplained. No astronaut comment, no mention in the mission logs, and yet it's there, floating silently in the void. And here's another odd thing, and a part that bugs me a little bit. As I kept flipping through the Apollo 12 archive, and you'll see this on any of the other Apollo missions, something started to stand out. The images that are in sequence are extremely repetitive, over and over, shots of the same empty terrain, no astronauts, no tools, just gray dust and a black sky in the shot. Hundreds of them, potentially thousands. It almost feels like the astronauts were deliberately capturing long sequences of photographs like they were trying to catch something in the act, on film, whether they were told to or not. And that's a whole other question. But it seems as if they wasted a lot of film snapping photographs of the same exact areas, the same exact empty skies above the moon, almost as if maybe they were baiting something or trying to, or were monitoring for activity, because it sure seems that way to me. Or maybe they were just keeping the cameras running and hoping the anomalies would reveal themselves. I'll let you guys decide as always, but one thing's for sure, these photos weren't taken by accident. There are patterns here, and once you start seeing them, you can't unsee them. These anomalies are right there in plain sight, and no one is talking about them, except us. Sure, they get brought up from time to time, but not in the way that they should be and that they deserve to be. So, if you want to check out these images for yourself, I'll drop down all the direct links to the Apollo 12 and Apollo 17 photos in the description below, where you guys can dive in, zoom, analyze, because the more eyes we have on these archives, the more secrets we'll pull out. And just a tip here for you guys and any of you would-be anomaly hunters out there who are going to start looking at moon images yourselves, there are a lot of archives of these photos online that proclaim to have the best or highest resolution versions of the original scans. And up until recently, the top runner in that race would have been a website called Flickr, where a ton of Apollo moon mission photos were published in extreme high resolution. However, that is not where to find the absolute highest resolution lunar images. And so where you can find those, well, it's on a website called marchtothemoon.com and is a part of an Arizona college project out there, and these are by far the best resolution, highest resolution scans of these lunar photographs and the anomalies within them. And they don't just feature photos from the Apollo missions, but also the Gemini missions and others. So if you want to check out these photos for yourself, I'll drop all the direct links down below. Tell me what you guys think about this newest triangle that yours truly has discovered in this Apollo 12 image, this white bowling pin UFO captured just after it. And if you find this type of material and evidence as compelling as I do, don't just keep it to yourself. It would help me a great deal if you would share this video with your friends, family, or coworkers. But let's take it a step further. If you feel inclined or you have the time, please consider reaching out to news outlets that have featured our discoveries in the past, like the New York Post or the Sun or the Independent, and others that thrive on uncovering the unexplained. Send them the link to this video, share these findings, and let's just get this information out to an even wider audience. The more voices we have, the harder it becomes to ignore. And as always, we're just getting warmed up. I've got even more Apollo anomalies to cover, plus some more crazy UFO footage, discoveries within the depths of our oceans coming up, so stay tuned for those, and don't go anywhere because we will be here continuing to uncover the truth behind the UFO and alien cover-up, one video at a time, as we have for a decade now. So subscribe to Secure Team 10 if you're new, and hit that bell so you don't miss what's coming up next. I am Tyler with Secure Team. Thank you guys for stopping by, and I will catch you all back here in just a bit. Stay safe, guys.